Damas y caballeros, welcome back to the Moral of the Story podcast, an audio drama that was written by myself and artificial intelligence. And in this season, we are following the story of Angel, an Army veteran who recently inherited a restaurant from his aunt. And last chapter, we learned that his ex-wife and children were in a car accident. And this chapter picks up with him rushing to the hospital to check on them. Hope you enjoy this next chapter. And as always, I look forward to hearing and chatting with you in the post-show discussion, where I'll be joined with my AI co-host, and we'll talk about this chapter and the lessons from it. All right, with that, enjoy this next chapter of Second Service.
Second Service, Chapter 6. The drive to the hospital is a blur of blaring horns and blinding headlights, the city a smear of neon and shadow outside my windows. I'm out of the car before it's fully stopped, throwing it into park haphazardly in the first space I see. I'm in the emergency room a moment later, my eyes desperately leapfrogging from face to face until it lands on a familiar figure hunched in a molded plastic chair. Marisol. I'm moving, dodging gurneys and nurses with muttered apologies. And then, she's in my arms, her slim frame shuddering against mine, her tears hot and wet on my neck.
Angel, thank God you're here. I'm so scared.
I'm here, Mari. I've got you. She clings to me, her fingers digging into my back like talons. I can feel the wild rabbit kick of her heart, the shallow pull of her breathing. She's in shock, I register dimly. The distant combat lifesaver training kicks in, cataloging her symptoms, even as the rest of me buzzes with barely leashed panic. There's a livid bruise blooming on her right cheekbone, a garish slash of purple and red that makes my stomach clench. The boys, where are they? Are they...
Ethan's over there.
She points to a nearby cluster of chairs where I can just make out a small, huddled form. Every fiber of my being yearns to go to him, to scoop him up and shelter him from this nightmare. But I need intel first. Need to know what I'm walking into.
He's okay. Just shaken up. But Remy, they took him back for x-rays and a head CT. He was unconscious when they brought him in, Angel. So pale and still.
A wave of dizziness crashes over me, gray eating at the edges of my vision. I breathe through it, slow and purposeful, the way I was taught in sniper school. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, again and again until the world steadies, sharpens back into focus. I can't afford to fall apart, not now. My family needs me, needs my strength and clarity. I center myself with an effort, locking away the gibbering terror, the howling anguish, compartmentalizing it to unpack at a later time. Okay, you said they took him for tests. That's good. That means they're being thorough. He's in the best possible hands.
You're right, I'm so scared, Angel. When I think about...
Don't. My hands come up to cradle her face. I brush the tears away with my thumbs, gentle as I know how. Don't think about it, Mar. He'll be fine. They're going to patch him up, and then we'll take our boys home, okay?
Okay. God, I just hope that he is okay.
We stand like that for a long moment, foreheads pressed together, sharing breath and resolve. At last, reluctantly, I ease back. There's someone else who needs me more, needs the reassurance of his father's arms. With a final squeeze of Marisol's hands, I turn and make my way to Ethan's side.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy. I'm here. How are you feeling, champ? Any bumps or bruises I should know about?
Just my heart. It feels like it's going really fast. Daddy, I'm really worried about Remy.
Hearing the raw, unfiltered ache in his voice, I swallow hard, fighting to keep my own composure. I know, baby. But listen to me, okay? Your brother, he's the toughest kid I know. Tougher than me, even. And he's got the best doctors in the world looking after him right now. He's going to be all right, okay? And I need you to be tough for him. Can you do that?
I can do that.
That's my boy. Mommy and I are so proud of you. You know that? You've been so brave tonight.
I was really scared when the car hit us and everything went all spinny and loud. I thought we were gonna die.
I close my eyes against the sudden sting of tears, against the visceral surge of fury and terror. I want to hunt down the bastard who did this, who dared to put that shake in my son's voice, that haunted shadow behind his eyes. I want to tear them apart with my bare hands, to make them feel even a fraction of this bone-deep anguish. But that's not what Ethan needs from me, not now. He needs his rock, his unshakable foundation. So I take a deep, steadying breath and pull back just far enough to meet his gaze. I can't even imagine how scary that must have been. But you know what? You made it through. You kept your head and you looked out for your mama and your brother, even when you were feeling so afraid. That's the bravest thing I've ever heard, Ethan. I mean that.
I'm not brave. Remy's the brave one. He threw his arms in front of me when he saw the car coming, tried to protect me with his body, and everything. Like a superhero.
Grief rises up in me like a tidal wave, hot and blinding. My sweet, selfless boy, my little guardian angel in Spider-Man sneakers. Of course he would throw himself into harm's way to protect his brother. It's who he is, who he's always been, the first to charge into battle, the last to leave anyone behind. He is a superhero, and so are you, mijo. You're both so strong and brave and good. Mama and I are the luckiest parents in the whole world, you know that?
Even luckier than Miles Morales' parents?
Way luckier. Spider-Man got nothing on the Mendez boys. His smile widens at that, some of the shadows lifting from his eyes. I know it's temporary. Know there will be tears and night terrors aplenty in our future. But for now, it's enough. Enough to coax a spark of joy from the fear, to remind him that there's still light in this darkened world. I'm just about to suggest a vending machine run, desperate for any distraction to keep that smile in place, when I hear a sharp inhale from behind me. I twist around to see Marisol rising to her feet, her eyes fixed on something over my shoulder.
Dr. Patel, how is he? How's my baby?
He's going to be fine. The CT showed a mild concussion, and his left arm is fractured in 2 places. But there's no sign of internal bleeding or organ damage, and his vitals are strong and stable. He's very, very lucky.
Thank you. Thank you so much, doctor. When can we see him?
They're moving him to recovery now. A nurse will be out to bring you back just as soon as he's settled. He's still a bit groggy from this sedation, and he'll likely have a whopper of a headache for a day or two. But he's been asking for his mama and papa something fierce.
Fresh tears spill down Marisol's face at that, but they're tears of joy this time, of bone-deep relief.
That's our Remy. Stubborn as a mule and twice as tough.
He gets that from you, you know.
Pretty sure he gets it from both sides. Lord knows you're no quitter, Angel Mendez.
A nurse will be out in a few minutes to take you to go see him.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much.
There's a world of history in her eyes, a glimmer of something warm and knowing, a reminder of all the battles we've weathered together, all the times we've lifted each other back to our feet and soldiered on. It's a light I haven't seen in far too long, dimmed by pain and distance and the slow erosion of a love we'd both taken for granted. But here, now, with our children safe and the worst behind us, it feels like a beginning, like the first pale shoots of spring after a long, dark winter.
Family of Remy Mendez?
We're on our feet in an instant, a tangle of eager limbs and tripping feet. That's us, I say breathlessly.
We're his parents.
Well then, why don't you come with me? I know a certain little warrior who's very excited to see you.
I feel Marisol's hand slip into mine as we follow the nurse down the winding hallway, Ethan tucked close to my other side. Her palm is soft against my calloused skin, her fingers trembling slightly in the cage of my own. I give her hand a gentle squeeze, feeling the flutter of her pulse against my wrist.
Mama, Papa, Ethan!
Marisol rushes to his bedside, tears streaming down her face as she gently hugs her son.
Oh, my brave little boy. We were so worried about you.
Hey, champ. You gave us quite a scare, but we're so proud of you.
You were like a superhero, Remy. You saved me.
Did I? I don't know what happened. It all happened so fast.
Yeah. You threw your arms over me. I would have banged my head, but you saved me. You're my hero.
The nurse gives us the rundown on his condition, how to take care of his cast, and how to care for him after his concussion.
We'd like to keep him here for about another hour, just to monitor his vitals for a little longer. The doctor is just being extra cautious since he lost consciousness, but I think he'll be fine.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm glad he is doing well. I'll be back in a little while to discharge you guys.
As the boys talk, Marisol and I step back, watching our children with a mix of relief and love. Mari, I'm sorry. I know I haven't been around as much as I should be. The restaurant has been taking up so much of my time, and I've been neglecting my responsibilities as a father. Marisol sighs, her eyes filled with a familiar disappointment.
It's always been like this, Angel. Even when you were in the Army, like when you were in company command working from 5 a.m. to 7 at night, your job always came first. Your family should be your priority.
Her words cut deep. You're right, Mari. I've been selfish, and I'm sorry. I promise I'll do better. I want to be there for the boys, to be the father they deserve.
Then be there, Angel.
I will. I'm going to spend more time with them. I promise.
What about this summer? You were supposed to take the boys for the summer. Why don't you take them for a few weeks?
I want to, but the restaurant, I'm still trying to get things under control.
See, there you go again. Putting work first.
It's just that I don't have time.
Angel, you always have time. It's not about time. It's about making your family a priority. The boys need you, Angel.
You're right. I'm so sorry. She stares at me with her bloodshot eyes. I'll take them for the rest of the summer. I'll take you guys home and then I'll pick them up tomorrow. But would it be okay if they spent some time at the restaurant with me while I work? I mean, I'll still make time to spend with them, especially during the day when it's slow.
You spent time in the restaurant when you were a child too, didn't you? With your aunt?
Yeah, I did. Some of my best memories are from those days, helping out in the kitchen and learning the ropes. Marisol reaches out, her hand resting on my arm.
The boys have been begging me every day to go to the restaurant. I'm sure they will have a great experience.
I nod, throat tight with emotion.
But promise me, Angel, that you'll make time for them outside of the restaurant too. They need their father, not just a boss.
I promise, Mari. From now on, the boys are my top priority. I won't let them down again. I won't let you down again.
Welcome to the post-show discussion. I am your host and the producer of this story, Robert Solano. As always, this is a post-show discussion. If you don't want to hear or listen to us speak, feel free to fast forward or jump to the next chapter of the story. But if you stick around, hopefully you get some lessons and insight behind this story. So with that, I am going to bring in my co-host, Lexi, who is an AI system. And with that, Lexi, how are you doing today?
Hey, Robert, I'm doing great. Excited to dive into today's discussion. That was an intense chapter of Second Service. There's so much to unpack. How about we start with your thoughts on the emotional intensity of the hospital scene? What inspired you to write it with such vivid detail?
What inspired me to write this chapter? I think now that you mention it, I had a coworker whose son was in a terrible accident about 3 months ago, and I think I was reflecting on that a lot and just imagining how gut-wrenching it must be to learn that your son or daughter was in an accident, and how something like that could just really put everything in focus, and make you question how you're spending your time and how you're prioritizing everything. Fortunately, my two young daughters are healthy and happy, but it just I hopefully this story or this chapter is a reminder of just how important it is to spend time with the people you love, because you never know when something terrible may happen.
That makes a lot of sense, Robert. It's clear that the chapter conveys the raw emotions and the urgency of such a moment. Angel's experience in the hospital really shows how moments like these can shake us to our core and make us rethink our priorities. Speaking of priorities, Angel's struggle between managing the restaurant and being present for his family is a major theme here. How do you think his military background influences the way he handles these challenges?
Probably pretty negatively. In the military, we are really taught and trained to give our all to service, right? And in the chapter I highlight, Marisol makes a comment like, "Oh, this is just like when you're in company command, working from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m." And and that was essentially me for quite a few years of my life. I remember waking up at 5, leaving for the office at 5:30, doing PT, staying at the office all the way until 7 o'clock at night, 5, 6 days a week. And um, I think people in the military think that that is natural, but frequently when you move to the civilian world, you learn that that is very unnatural for many professions. And sometimes it can be hard for veterans to transition to, just working like 40 hours a week, like most people, and prioritizing other things outside of the military.
That's a great point, Robert. It's a big shift, and I can see how that intense dedication to work can spill over into civilian life, sometimes to the detriment of personal relationships. Angel's struggle is very relatable for many veterans trying to find that balance. How do you think Angel's realization about his family needing him more will change his approach to managing the restaurant and his time?
I mean, I hope that this incident will help him focus more on his family and realize that the restaurant, while that was his aunt's restaurant and he has this sense of commitment to the restaurant, ultimately his children should be a bigger priority, especially when they're young and the ages they are. They really need their father, and the restaurant will most likely be there in the long term, but I think you have only a limited time with your children. And so, with that, I thought before I turn it back over to you, Lexi, to wrap up, that I would talk a little bit about the AI in this chapter, because there's quite a few, at least two different kind of unique accents. You have like the doctor who has this kind of Indian accent, and then you have the nurse who has kind of like this urban accent. And I think that using AI to tell a story, that's really one of the like awesome things that this technology provides. I mean, just think about how many actors or actresses I would have had to have if I had people actually narrating this story, and how pricey that would be, and how much, back and forth communication and arrangements would have to occur to have these different voices. And so this was just kind of, one kind of unique scene where I thought it was really cool to have these different voices play different characters. And I think it was highlighted well in this scene. So with that, Lexi, I'll turn it over to you to wrap up the post-show discussion.
Thanks, Robert. That's a great insight into how AI is making storytelling more dynamic and accessible. It really does bring a new layer of depth to the characters and the story. So, to wrap up, what would you say is the moral of this chapter of Second Service? What do you hope listeners take away from Angel's experience in this intense moment?
I think there's a quote that Marisol said that really summed up the moral story of this chapter. And the quote, I don't remember exactly, but essentially Angel says something like, "I don't have time." And Marisol counters him and says, "No, like it's not about having time, it's about not having priorities." And there's always time if you make things a priority. Like this chapter before this, Angel was working in the restaurant. He had a busy day, and if you told him, "Hey, like, you should just stop working and go spend time with your family," he probably would have, said, "No, like, there's no way I can stop working and go spend time with his family." But as soon as he learned that his family was in an accident, all of a sudden he had the time, right? Because he immediately left the business and went to go spend time with his family. And so whenever someone says like, "I don't have time for friends, I don't have time for family, I don't have time for whatever," it's never about time. It's always about what's a priority. And if you make things a priority, you will always, always, always find or can find the time to make that a priority and spend that time doing whatever it is, whether that's with your family, for your own fitness, you name it. It's very rarely about time. It's almost always about what's your priority? All right. Well, thanks, Lexi. Appreciate it. And I'll let you close this out.
Absolutely, Robert. That's a powerful takeaway. Prioritizing what truly matters is key, and this chapter really drives that home. For our listeners, if you enjoyed this discussion, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. Your support helps us keep bringing these stories and conversations to life. Sharing your thoughts also helps us reach more people who might benefit from these insights. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to diving into the next chapter of Second Service with you.
Thanks, Lexi. And thanks, listeners. Hope you enjoyed this. Please leave a review, comment, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.